building a stage for Tanz of Vampires, which is known very traditional, and people know how it looks like. What aspects were you most focused on building the stage and designing the costumes?
Actually, it's a very strange situation. I've been here 12 years ago at the opening night and never thought I would do that show. I was designing at the time as well, but it's a big surprise when we realized in 2003 we would do a vampire in Budapest. Actually, I did the show in Budapest first with Roman, and we did a different design already. All the costumes and the set are different. What we tried to do with Cornelius, and actually who is the director for the show now, we worked on that project now 3.5 years or maybe more. We learned a lot about the original production. It was a wonderful show, and actually I think the whole show developed in the last 10 years, and because in the theatre business 10 years is much, we tried to do a little different look what reminds you about the original because of the story, and actually I think the set is trying to be more focusing on this Eastern feeling from the 19th century. Our castle is actually based on a very famous Hungarian architecture thing. It's a neo-Gothic thing, and that was a very deep research for the original 19th century costumes for the first, you know the story, first actually the peasants costumes from Transylvania, which is much easier for me than for an English designer. I went to the museum and actually researched every materials what I could get, and it's for the set as well. And I think this is the mixture what we put in extra on this traditional part. It's very much more filled up with scene changes. It's always moving. It's really perpetuum mobile now. The whole show is always moving. I think it's more scenes, and scene changes are much more, how can I say, spectacular than it was before. And we put in some extras in the scenes and in the costumes, some famous figures from the century, from the last century, from our history, from your history, some real famous historical persons, and on the finale too, what is one of my favorite, we put in an absolutely up-to-date neo-Gothic fashion costumes, and I think it will be a surprising background for that, but I don't want to tell you because that's our opening night secret.
That's too bad, because I was about to ask you, can you give me one little hunch what historic figures you were using? Just one little hunch.
About the figures?
Yes.
Actually, I'm using my historical figures and Hungarian figures, and all the costumes are a little bit on all the Eastern figures, and actually from Transylvania, what they were in that time. But the modern figures, we will put some 2 persons for the second act finale from our creativity. You will maybe recognize them. I'm sure you will recognize them in a vampire way, and actually in the vampire the ball scene. The whole ball costumes, we put it to famous German and an Austrian figure. I don't want to tell you, but you will recognize. Not Rudolph. He's our partner in the business, and actually he was still alive when this story happened.
I'll be curious. I'll keep curious. One more question. How has your set design changed from Budapest to here?
Oh, it's a much bigger scale. We develop many things. It's a bigger, more spectacular, and it's much more filled the scenes. It's just like a good start, but it's a much bigger, much more. How can I say?
Pompous, maybe?
Yeah, it's filled up.
All right.
We're just pumping up, and we put it like 3 more scenes, 3 more big pictures, and the whole finale is just different. The costumes is developed, you know, that's the good with the theater. If you can do it again, you put everything what you learn in the last 2 years. You will enjoy it. I think it's a very, very good show, and the cast is wonderful.